But what was interesting about Nick Smith was basically, for me, what really came out of that was the fact that he said now there's no going back.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a case now of how quickly things will move.
Yeah. There's no going back, and the comparison to the Coliseum. Those two things
good
alone
takeaways, aren't they?
got me very excited.
So welcome back to BCFC Royal Blue. Now, we know over the last week or so there's been a lot of information and publicity, not just about the Birmingham Sports Quarter, but also about the infrastructure and the government involvement and all of these types of things. And as Blues fans, it's a really exciting time for us, and we're looking for little snippets, really, just to find out a bit more information about what's going on. Now, yesterday, at the time of recording, Nick Smith, from the who's head of the infrastructure for Birmingham City, had an event at Hotel de Van in Birmingham to the Built Environment Forum, where he gave a bit more of an insight into the background behind the Sports Quarter. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Just maybe some of the things that are slowly starting to leak out, just to give us a feel for actually what's really going on behind the scenes. I also, Matt, as well, want to touch on an article by Alex Dicken in the Birmingham Live, which was on the same day, which also gave us a little bit more information that I wasn't aware of. So,
yeah.
Just to tell you, this information that we've got that I'm referring to, I actually had to get it from X. There was no recording or video of it anywhere, but there was somebody called Greek Blue Nose who put almost like a commentary of the event on X, and there's some interesting stuff come out of this. So, was you expecting? Obviously, you've read this now as well. Was you expecting anything different from what he said?
Well, I wasn't quite expecting one of the open houses that we do, but I also wasn't expecting it to feel so
low key,
clandestine.
Yeah,
it felt like really,
it was low key,
but behind closed doors, kind of a little bit secretive, weren't it? And I was like you, Dad. I saw on X yesterday, Blues fans were posting kind of graphics of the key highlights, like 10 or 15 bullet points of 10,000 women's stadium and the capacity of our the men's and all these different things. So yeah, it was really interesting to see not the stats that came out of it, but the what we're hoping to achieve from it, some of the things which are going to be incorporated. And the thing that got me was just the sheer scale of this thing. It's going to be huge, isn't it? It's going to be massive.
It is, and that sort of jumped out at me. And we know that when Knighthead originally bought the wheel site, it was something like 48 acres originally. From what Nick was saying, and we'll touch on this in a moment, that could go as high as 125 or 135 acres, which is absolutely huge. To put that into context, the Manchester City Sports Campus is 80 acres. So this is going to be a lot bigger than that as well. To give you a few little snippets of what Nick actually said. So this was sponsored by the event was sponsored by Birmingham Hospice and it was a paid event clearly for the hospice. So there was people there from the Built Environment. So a few people who would have been interested in what's going on at Birmingham City as well. So this was a little bit of what was said. So the Sports Quarter has been in gestation, obviously originating for about a year now, with about, interestingly, 75 consultants regularly engaged on it, and that in itself tells you the scale of it. 75 consultants, and those consultants will be a range of different specialities. Look at
architects, engineers,
even those involved in land purchase, because they're still buying up pieces of land, aren't they, to make this mega project as well. So he talked about the rationale for the project, but what was interesting, and I thought this was a really key point that Nick actually said, was that the transportation funding that was confirmed last week was absolutely crucial, or a non-negotiable precondition to its progress. Basically what he's saying, if that wouldn't have happened, the project probably wouldn't have happened. So they had to have that commitment from the government to have this infrastructure around the new Sports Quarter. If that hadn't happened, what he's basically saying there is, the chances of the project going ahead would have been very, very unlikely.
Yeah.
But he also said on the back of that, he said once it was confirmed, he said there's no going back.
Yeah.
So
there we go.
So that confirms that obviously this is going to going ahead.
What I liked, Dad, was that the description was a sports coliseum.
That's what my note. That's my next on my note.
I thought that really captured my attention, because when you think about the Coliseum, obviously we naturally go to Italy.
It's grand, isn't it?
Yeah, the pure scale of it, the history associated with it, everything around that. It's such a powerful word to describe
Coliseum. I saw that really jumped out at me as well.
Yeah.
I think that Knighthead, if you're going to do this and you're going to build a stadium of this scale and size, you're going to make it as good as you possibly can. But the word Coliseum, it really is as grand as you can possibly get, isn't it? As well, it's interesting as well. We did a post, a podcast a few days ago about the after the infrastructure or the government funding had been confirmed for the tram line, and. We spoke about, didn't we, about also in one of our questions from fans podcasts about what the stadium might look like, and we mentioned about the history of and red brick, and there's a lot of people don't like the idea of red brick. I don't think it will be red brick, by the way. Just to confirm, we were talking about the likely heritage, and most people have argued that in Birmingham it'd be blue brick anyway. Do you know the arches and stuff like that?
Yeah, fair
point.
But
I think it's going to be a modern stadium. If it's going to be a Coliseum, it's going to be a combination of concrete, steel, and glazing, in my opinion, with cladding and stuff.
And everyone's entitled to their view and their opinion, aren't they? Again, I will stand on it that I quite like the idea of a little bit of red brick, having that kind of old. I mean, I'm talking like a very minor element to it, maybe, but I just like the way it looks. I think it looks great, especially when it's done in a modern way.
Yeah.
But everyone has their preferences. Everyone has what they want this stage, and this is the thing: no one's going to be 100% happy with what they go for here.
No,
However, what you've just said, Dad, modern steel cladding. It's not a hill I'm willing to die on, but it's just a reference to that kind of, culture, that reference to the history of Birmingham.
Which they said that they would consider
exactly,
didn't they? Yeah,
exactly that.
Yeah, and this is not just for Birmingham City Supporters. This is for the people of Birmingham. Listen to this as well. This is what else he said. Obviously, they're going to build a stadium, which is going to be 62,000. We don't know the exact capacity, but I think Tom Wagner's mentioned 62,000 in the past, hasn't he? There's going to be a 10,000, as you mentioned, Matt, seater women's stadium. 18,000-seater indoor arena, training centres, hotels, fan zones, entertainment hubs. This is for the city of Birmingham. We are going to get our stadium as Birmingham City Supporters, and it is going to be our sports quarter, but it is for the city of Birmingham. So you imagine with an indoor arena, you can think of concerts, events. Yeah. And remember that Tom Wagner has bought Birmingham Phoenix, the netball team. He's invested in the, I can't remember the name, somebody can maybe mention this in the comments. The cricket team, it's not Warwickshire, that's the county, but the cricket team, which is based out of Warwickshire, that's been, he's invested into that as well. So I think the vision would be that this sports quarter would be able to accommodate all these, including the women's team, obviously the women's stadium. It's going to open up the city of Birmingham for a whole range of different events, and that's going to bring a lot of money into the economy.
But that's a key point, Dad. That's why the government have backed it and give the funding, because it's not just about Birmingham City Football Club, it's about the city of Birmingham, and that this will create jobs, this will impact the local economy, which helps everyone, and everyone recognises it's been a massively underfunded part of the city for many, many years. So hopefully now it just gives it a level up where we can get jobs in there, help the community, help people, and as I say, now the government have backed it, there's no going back, and there's going to be a lot going on here, isn't there?
It's because as fans, Matt, we're all pretty much interested in the stadium, how's it going to be, what's it going to look like, and all that type of thing. But there's a huge amount going on around. This is a massive sports quarter, and that's why I'm saying the city of people of Birmingham generally should get excited about this, not just the Birmingham City Supporters. This is for everybody. Look at this, Matt, as well. This is another little snippet that I wasn't aware of that was said at the forum. Stadium will be covered with a removable playing service, and the stadium design will reflect the club's and city's heritage, and its visual effect will have the wow factor. So
it's going to be incredible. Whatever they do, Dad, it's going to be absolutely incredible.
So a removable playing surface. So that's the type of real big modern stadiums have those type of things. And I presume that's to allow other events, so that don't ruin the pitch and stuff like that. So that'll be interesting as well.
I saw a time lapse recently, Dad. I think it was on LinkedIn. It was on a networking site of some kind, and it showed, I can't remember what stadium it was, I can't remember what's happening, but it was a modern one, it was a recent one, it had 5 different events in a week, and it was a time lapse, and it was showing a football pitch, then like a rugby pitch, then a concert, and then a concert with a stage at the back, a concert with a stage in the middle. So it was showing the transformation that stadium went in over 5 days or something incredible. So I think that'll be exactly what's going to happen at Blues as well.
Well, my mind wonders how all that works. You have a removable playing surface, so does the pitch roll away or something like that, and then there's there's a swimming pool underneath and stuff like that. I know there isn't going to be a swimming pool. I'm just jesting, but it's shows you that the desire for all of the mod cons, all the modern stadium as well. And this is interesting as well because remember we're obviously picking snippets of what we probably didn't know, a little tiny bit more detail. Here's something else as well. This is what Nick was talking about. Clear commitment in design. So they're already investigating intimidatory acoustics where the players will emerge. The design of the stadium will aim to maximise the elevated view of the city's skyline, and the aim is the facility will enhance the city and connect to its local community, and the provision for housing, parks, pitches, basketball courts, screens, etc., to encourage high levels of local presence. So they're not designing this for just to attract people outside of Birmingham. This is for the people of Birmingham as well, and that's really important. And also as well, the design, I believe that they were talking about the orientation of the stadium so that the corporate boxes will have the Birmingham skyline view.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's even thinking about that, the maximising the potential hospitality by giving a good view. I suppose because on the other side you've probably got the railway track or back of Borsley Green, but the Birmingham skyline is what I presume where they'll put the expensive hospitality areas.
And what staggered me, Dad, was the timelines attached to this as well. So it looks like the build is going to take just as much time to get planning permission. That seems really adventurous to me. So planning permission, they said, is 2027. Obviously, we're in 2025 now. That's 2 years. And then the build, they said, obviously, and they've acknowledged that it's optimistic, is 2030, 2031. So it's almost 2 or 3 years to get planning permission, 2 or 3 years to build it. It seems
it is that is very, very tight, but they acknowledge that. But for planning permission, you don't need all of the technical detail. Planning permission is more concerned with what everything's going to look like. Okay, the technical side in terms of what's needed for construction is like the structural engineers and the building services engineers. excuse me, the architects, the designers. They will look at the plans that have got approval and then work out. Well, actually, now this has got approval. How are we going to build it? And there's a separate process involved with that, which is called building regulations application. So it's a separate application. So planning permission will be sought and granted. Then there'll be another department that will take over in terms of how is it going to be built, how is it going to be built safely, how is it going to comply with UK building regulations, all those type of things. But they are tight timelines. You are right to identify that. I mean, we're in 2025 now, middle of 2025 as we speak. They're talking about as soon as planning permission granted. Yeah. So he was talking about possibly having planning permission submitted by January or early next year, which again is very tight. But they will be engaging architects now, and I reckon all of the top architects around the world involved in sports stadiums will want to be involved in this.
Yeah.
So they'll be engaging the best architects. But don't forget, you'll be working with architects who know what they're doing. They know how to design football stadiums. Of
course.
So it's not just getting your local firm and asking them to design something.
Local firm. Yeah, but I know what you mean though. Yeah,
but not for something like this. I mean, there will be local firms involved all through the stages in different things. But for something like this, you want a lead architect that's got a really good reputation for designing these type of things. But those timescales, just to repeat what Matt just said, timescales are seen for planning permission granted in 2027. That's effectively 2 years from now. Construction beginning in 2028, with the build completed in 2030. That is really tight. I mean, if you do acquire 135 acres in total, and you saying you're going to build that in 2 years, that really is staggeringly tight.
Would that challenge a world record of some kind? That's got to be close, hasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I don't doubt anything that Tom Wagner wants to do, though. And he makes things happen. But
yeah, you are
the reality, though, Matt, of the UK construction industry is that we might not have the same aspirations or pace that Tom Wagner has. You know what I mean? And there's usually hold-ups as well in construction.
He works and lives in Manhattan, doesn't he? He knows the obstructions in busy places of what it would take to get a building up or whatever it might be. He's not ignorant or naive. He knows exactly what he's getting himself in for. But you, as an experienced building surveyor, Dad, as well, with your head on, I'm sure you would look at that and go, 2 years. That seems, as you just said,
but I wonder if that's just talking about like getting the stadium complete and up and running and ready, as opposed to the whole sports quarter.
Right.
Do you see what I mean? So it's hard. You've got to sort of separate out what that actually means.
Do you reckon this could be almost opened in sections?
Yeah.
So it could be like a 5-year rolling open of like the stadium, then the restaurants, and whatever it might be.
It will be tricky though. So imagine, let's say in 2031, the stadium. Let's say the stadium's ready and it opens. suddenly you've got like 60,000 fans going to a stadium which has got a building site next to it, and the safety factors and sort of the people getting in and out and around, it's already going to be congested,
especially in the city centre.
Yeah, so there are logistical problems that need to be ironed out, but that was the timeline. And then a little bit later in the day, Alex Dicken from Birmingham Live published an article in Birmingham at Birmingham Live, which I thought was also interesting, linked to this as well, which provided a little bit more detail. Now, Alex and Brian Dick, as we know, are the sports correspondents for the Birmingham Live, and they will know people that we don't. They'll have links to the club and to the press office and all this type of thing. So there's information in here that Alex wrote that I wasn't aware of, that I thought I'd just sort of repeat of that. If you haven't watched their podcast as well, the Keep Right On podcast, go and pop along to have a look at that. That's always a good listen on YouTube as well. But it says that the title was not of the article, 19 pitches, 2 stadiums and the main ground, including inside Birmingham Sports Quarter Plan. Birmingham City hope to move to their new home by 2030. And this is interesting. Birmingham City will soon have a home that exceeds 125 acres, as it said, that boasts 19 football pitches. No. It's big, isn't it?
It really is. Yeah. I don't think people, I mean, me included, appreciate the size of that. Yeah. It's absolutely humongous, isn't it?
Yeah, and he went on to say, Tom Wagner and his night head cohorts have a clear plan of what the sports quarter will look like. The stadium hasn't yet been designed, which we sort of know that it hasn't been designed yet. But they're going to know what they want, and using examples of around the world. We did a pod actually, the last one before this, where one of the questions that were asked about what the stadium will look like. So if you haven't seen that podcast, pop along and have a look. We'll give our thoughts on that.
I'm not saying it's going to look like this, Dad, but when you look inside, like the bar areas and the logistics around the stadium, everything about it, I think it will be quite close. I think you referenced this stadium as well on the podcast, maybe like the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, just in terms of having the bells and whistles on it. And having a nice fancy new stadium. As I said, this is not a comparison in terms of design. It will look completely different, I'm sure. But just in terms of, if you're comparing a brand new shiny stadium with all the technology on it, I think it'll be closely aligned to that.
Tottenham Hotspur Stadium is fabulous, isn't it?
It's amazing.
If we get something close to that, I mean, it's going to be spectacular. Something else that Alex went on to say, which is actually interesting as well, you talked about the retractable pitch, which we've spoken about as well, but he said the design is expected to include that retractable pitch, like the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and could also provide scope for a roof as well. So we may get a roof. We touched on this before, haven't we? So that's interesting. We've been to the Millennium Stadium, haven't we, when the roof's been closed? It creates a great atmosphere, doesn't it? And that takes out the jeopardy of the weather, doesn't it? So if you've got like really bad weather, it's not, particularly not just football, but for concerts and stuff like that, it just allows things to continue, doesn't it?
Exactly.
So that would be good if we get, but it's all going to come down to money in the end, because this all has to be costed. It's all right saying all this, but there's a practical financial side to this as well.
I think in terms of the project and the amount they're investing, if you're, this might sound, it's like if you're going to break it down, if you're going for like a McDonald's and it's £3.25 for a medium, it's £3.65 for a large, or whatever, you might as well pay the extra and get the stadium. If you're talking,
I agree, but there is always a financial restraint, because I mean, imagine that. I mean, the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, I believe, cost nearly £1 billion.
That was it.
Yeah, I believe, or $1 billion or close. So you've got 2 to 3 billion. That's $1 billion gone just on the stadium. But then you've got the 135 acres of other development to do. So it sounds like a lot of money. 2 to 3 billion pounds, but in a development of this size, that could go very, very quickly.
They'll attract a lot more investment on top of that, though, won't they? Nighthead.
That's the point. So therefore, it is 2 to 3 billion. But as this starts to roll, people want to get involved. The more you speculate, the more you accumulate. So therefore, there'll be people are stumbling over themselves to get involved with this. I think it will cost more than 3 billion to build this whole lot. In my opinion, and based upon what they're saying, that was interesting from Alex, wasn't it? About the fact that there could be a roof, as part of the design. This is where I got the information from. Actually, I was talking about the orientation of the West Stand. It was actually from reading Alex's article here about the West Stand will be the main stand and overlook the city centre's impressive skyline. So that's good as well. And then just goes on to repeat about the full plans will be submitted for approval in January. And by the end of 2026. So obviously things are starting to move now, aren't they? And Birmingham Live understands the number could be close to 135 acres when all is said and done. So they're still mopping up land as well. So, it will have a smaller stadium. We talked about the Blues Women and a show pitch expected to seat for around £10,000. So a little bit more detail there. So all this is really, really interesting. A training complex with separate spaces for men, women academy will be created in the sports quarter. And Wastills, now known as the Knighthead Performance Centre, is a large training centre, but it only has 13 pitches. So I think what it's just doing is setting the scope of what's actually going to happen here and what we've already got. But very, very interesting. And I think in the the Nick Smith presentation and what Alex has written there, I think it did give us a slightly deeper insight into the plans and what's actually going to happen, because we can guess, can't we?
Yeah.
And I know anything that these two, Nick and Alex, have mentioned are not perfectly set in stone, because it's all determined by planning permission anyway. But it shows you the aspirations of the club, and it's absolutely amazing, isn't it?
And also, Dave, if you want to get a scope of size, the Etihad campus is 85 acres.
80
acres.
Yeah.
And this is going to be upwards of 125, 135. So this will be the biggest sports complex in the world by quite some margin. But of course, you're talking sports complex, sports quarter, but you're talking restaurants and bars and hotels. I get that. But just in terms of land for a sports quarter, it'll be the biggest in the world by a significant margin.
It will, and I think now that we've now this is all happening, it's all starting to move now, isn't it? We knew that when Knighthead came in, they told us about their plans, and it was all aspirational at that stage. Then suddenly the wheel site was bought. Oh, hang on, they bought the land. Then suddenly, you see Tom Wagner meeting with the mayor and the council, and suddenly going to Downing Street. Oh, hang on. And then suddenly, he's on the telly with Rachel Reeves announcing this, new tram line that's going to go not just through the sports quarter, but it's planned to go beyond to connect all the West Midlands up.
Yeah. It's going to Solihull as well, isn't it? It's going all the way through.
Yeah, it goes through to the NEC, etc. But what was interesting about Nick Smith was basically, for me, what really came out of that was the fact that he said now there's no going back.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a case now of how quickly things will move.
Yeah. There's no going back, and the comparison to the Coliseum. Those two things
good
alone
takeaways, aren't they?
Got me very excited.
Yeah, I liked Alex's article as well about the retractable roof. Obviously, he's got that from somewhere. So in speaking to people, and maybe that's an aspiration for them. But fantastic news, isn't it? And so that's what we got from the updates that were happened yesterday, and provides a little bit more detail. And we're as Blues fans, excited about what's going on, and we're always looking for information to find out, a little bit more. So as things happen, we'll keep you informed on this channel of what we know and how things are progressing. But really exciting time for not just Birmingham City supporters, but also the whole city of Birmingham. I think everybody should be really excited about this. But as always, we'd love to know your thoughts, and let us know in the comments below what you think about what we've said today. Anything generally, really, about the stadium, the sports quarter, or Birmingham City. Pop a comment below and let us know what your thoughts are. If you did like this podcast, as always, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't checked us out on our social media channels already, pop along to our X page and our Instagram page. And if you like to watch or listen to your podcast on Spotify, you'll find us on there as well. And you'll see the handles appearing on the screen for all of these channels right now. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already and you'd like to, don't forget to hit that red subscribe button. And if you want notifications every time we put a podcast out, then hit the little bell next to that subscribe button to allow that to happen. So that's it for this podcast. Hope you've enjoyed it. And myself and Matt will see you on the next one, all about Birmingham City.